Hello everyone, and welcome back to another video in my Addison's disease web series. This one is getting your medication right. Now, it can be a very big balancing act to get your medication correct, and after you're in about your second year, you will notice that you will be getting your labs done every 6 months to keep an eye on your dose, because your dose can change at any time due to weight gain. Your medication will have to be increased, weight loss, your medication will have to be decreased, stress in life, and just genuinely how you feel can change where your dose for your medication needs to be. So getting your meds right is first off, before I get into that though, I have notes right here to make sure I'm getting stuff out right. Anyways, first off though, I will say, when you do have your labs coming up, let your doctor know if you accidentally miss your medication, you stress dose, have come under sudden stress or illness, because these can change your medication levels and give you a false reading of what your medication levels will be. And I've had this before over my 10 years with the Addison's disease. I have had it where I've stress dose, or I've missed medication, or come under random stress, like let's say there's a death in the family or some stressful incidences have come up through something. I let him know, and he has postponed them a couple times, so that way my labs will show where my medication levels really are, and we're not decreasing or increasing the medication on incorrect lab results. So definitely be honest with them and let them know if you've had any of those things happen, so that way you can get the most accurate reading and you're not changing your medication if you don't need to. Now, getting your medication right can be a very, very tricky game, and it's really based on two factors. One is how you feel and how you look, and the other is where your medication levels are lab-wise. So anytime you go in for a doctor's appointment, be God the truth honest with them. If you have any changes in anything as diarrhea, constipation, if you're too awake, or if you're too sleepy, and if you have rapid heartbeats and you're like really awake. I've had it before where they've increased my medication thinking it needed it, and I'm just sitting there like, I got too much energy, I can't sleep, my heart's beating out of my chest, I feel like I'm gonna die, and they've had to lower it back down. Or if you're too sleepy to where you can't, you have a hard time getting motivated, and you're just like prolonged, just like, oh, I'm so tired, I feel like I can't breathe, you're just so lethargic. Headaches, more urination or less urination. And even with adults, this is something you can kind of monitor better than if you have a teenage child, is sex drive. And that will be something when you go to the doctor that he will ask. Definitely if your child is younger and gets Addison's disease, he will definitely ask your child. It's awkward, but it's a very integral part of your sex drive, if you're too horny or not at all interested, because it all plays together with your hormones and your medication level. So even be honest, if out of nowhere you're just like, I'm really got a high sex drive, or if out of nowhere you're just like, I could care less if I ever did that again, because those will be telltale of your hormones and all the mixtures that go along with it, with your medication levels. I will say, be realistic. If you're having a lot of headaches because maybe you've been around a lot of loud music, or you just know it's your stress, or if you're really tired because you've been pushing yourself and working a lot, know the difference between that and being genuinely lethargic and sick. I usually give any symptom a week before I start becoming worried, like lethargicness. I will say, if you're severely tired to where you're just like, I've tried eating thinking maybe it's my blood sugar, I've tried sleeping and I just can't stay awake. Give that about 3 or 4 days, and I really suggest you invest in a at-home blood pressure cuff. to take your blood pressure and see where it's at, so that way if it's low you can call the doctor immediately and he'll tell you a temporary thing to do or tell you to go get your labs done immediately to see where you're at. But I give it about a week for anything like salt cravings, anything like that, so that way you can tell if it's really something true or if it's temporary. Because I've had salt cravings where they're temporary in just a couple days because of maybe increased stress, lack of sleep, certain things like that. I get a salt craving and I'm like, but then it goes away after a couple days, after I've had a couple days to rest and regroup. So I say give the symptoms about a week, or if you're heading to the doctor and you notice sudden changes, definitely just anytime say it to him. You can never tell your doctor too much information about how you're feeling or what's going on, because it will better inform him on how to better take care of you. And like I said, the more medication you take, the more the possibility of gaining weight can happen, because it increases your hunger, and the hunger increases the eating, and eating increases the weight. Now if you are gaining weight and your medication levels will have to go up as well with it, or if you've lost a lot of weight because you're like, okay, I'm overweight, I need to get healthy, you will, and it'll show after. It's not like if you are exercising and purposely losing weight, you don't have to have your labs done until you go back in, and then they'll see and catch if it needs a dose change. Now there is such a thing as getting too much medication. And with too much medication, how to tell that is rapid heartbeat, lack of sleep, weight gain to the 10th degree of weight gain, striation marks, which is something I will talk about in depth in the video on health problems that can accompany Addison's disease, Cushing's, and I will talk a little bit more of that in detail of that in the video of health problems that will accompany Addison's disease. But one way to tell real quick if you have Cushing's is you get puffy right in here. You get fat and you get like swollen looking, and that's too much medication because you're retaining stuff. Now, stress dosing, I hate stress dosing because you get irritable, sometimes you can't sleep, and stress dosing can cause you to be hungry and put weight on, and realistically nobody wants to keep gaining weight and being more fat than they want to be, so I hate stress dosing, and I try not to do it if I can help it, but don't let that discourage you from stress dosing when you need to do it. So always stress dose anytime you have fever, diarrhea, emotional stress, colds. Save the shot kit for big stuff like car accidents, broken bones, vomiting. Anytime you pass out, save the shot kit for the big stuff. Stress dosing is for the little things to help you get through it. Now, how the medication works. If you take prednisone and fluticasone, one balances the salt in your kidneys and the other keeps your blood pressure up. I'm pretty sure the fluticasone balances the salt in your kidneys and the prednisone keeps your blood pressure up. I may be backwards because in writing my notes I didn't say which one does which, but anytime you want to know about how to properly stress dose or when to properly use your shot kit, always ask your doctor. Or if you want to know how the medication affects your body, like what properties it handles and does and how it helps you, don't ever be afraid to ask your doctor. They'll tell you all the information you could possibly ever want to know about it. Sometimes they may not go in depth with it because they're just trying to make your visits talking about the most important things, but don't ever be afraid to ask because they'll gladly give you the information. So that's my tips on helping you getting your medication straight. It's a balancing act between how you look and feel and where your medication and labs say that you are. And if you work with your doctor, if you're honest, and if you are intuitive on how you feel, and sometimes the labs will not play in your favor. Sometimes you're feeling great and you're like, I don't need a medicine change, but the labs say, yeah, you do. Go ahead and possibly increase your medication. And because I've done that before, and a couple days later I have that rapid heartbeat and I'm like, I think I need to change this. And we call the doctors and they're like, well, go ahead and lower it. Because part of getting your medication right and where your proper levels is based on how you do feel. So, and one thing I will suggest is once you do get your medicine levels balanced out, try to keep your weight steady because that'll keep you from going up and down with your medication. And one thing